Joining me now to discuss the impact of that outage on small businesses is Kevin O'Leary. He's the O-Shares ETF's chairman, CNBC contributor, and investor in more than 30 small businesses. Kevin, welcome. Tell me, you've had a front row seat to this, just how important Facebook is to this community. How important is it?
You know, Facebook has been so consistent for so long that we never even worried about outages like this. It was pretty material because you got to understand that in America, even though we're doing more Facebook bashing now, and I understand why that happens, and it seems to happen every 6 or 7 months. They're always being investigated. But the truth is that Facebook runs small business in America. More than 50 cents of every dollar spent in small business, which is about 66% of the economy and 2/3 of where jobs are created in America, is spent on Facebook for a bunch of reasons. Number one is the geolocking of advertising. So if I'm a veterinarian or a food services business in, let's say, pick any city in the Midwest or something, I don't want to advertise past 200 miles of where I am because what's happening in Los Angeles has nothing to do with my vet business in Kansas City. And so that's very important to understand. So the idea that, Facebook shuts down is very problematic. Two issues: customer acquisition. Number two, customer service and maintenance of existing customers. So it was pretty chaotic for those 7 hours yesterday.
So a friend of mine, Kevin, who runs a small business in town, had kind of the opposite take when I was asking him about it yesterday. He said that he said if Facebook went away tomorrow, it would help small businesses. And the reason, he said, is because their platform allows disintermediation of local business and services. In other words, if I'm, a digital presence, if I'm a national brand, I can go directly to that customer now. Normally, you would have had monopolies, basically, where if you needed a local product, service, or what have you, you're going to the local one in town. What do you make of the argument that Facebook actually makes it easier for people to sort of bypass the local business?
No, I don't agree with that at all. In my view, it's a personal opinion, but I do work with over 30 businesses now. I 100% disagree with that. And particularly now that we come through the pandemic, the pie chart of distribution of sales and services with consumer goods and services prior to the pandemic was 50% through retail, the big box retailers like Walmart, Target, Bed Bath & Beyond, 40% through Amazon, which was slightly better. Retail's 50 cents on the dollar. Amazon was 60 cents on the dollar, but we didn't get any customer data. And then 10% went through our own websites on Shopify and other platforms. Now, many of the businesses, because retail got shut down and Amazon went to essential services, have built up their direct-to-consumer businesses on their own platforms where they gather their own customer data in a way we never have before. And what did we use to do that? Facebook. So I totally disagree with that premise. Facebook allowed us to acquire customers during the pandemic, and sometimes at a 90% gross margin because we're not paying the margins to retail anymore. Facebook is the backbone of small business in America. And I guess if you want to shut it off, you'll find out some really bad news very, very quickly. Now, I get the issues around, privacy, but what's being debated on the Hill today has nothing to do with just Facebook by itself. Those algorithms are used by every social media site. So we might as well make laws for all of them together. It's okay to bash Facebook. They're the biggest. It's always good to bash the big one. But the truth is these issues exist everywhere across social media on every platform.
So if Facebook is that essential to small businesses, then what would you say? So, let's say you get up there after Frances Haugen and Congress says to you, all right, well, then what do we do about these problems? What would your answer be?
My answer would be this. Let's understand what problem we're trying to solve. If we're worried about young children on the platform, I totally understand that. And I think you have to go through the whole idea that parents want some input into this too. After all, part of the job of being a parent is deciding what content you give to your child on any platform, including what books they read. It's been that way for decades. And so there's that issue to deal with. But when it comes to small business in America, we should understand that that's commerce. Those issues aren't the same for commerce. I want to make sure that the platform that provides for building a franchise around an individual business is not harmed by an overreaching government that says we have to change everything about Facebook, everything about social media, everything about how you communicate with your customers because we're worried about one subgroup. An important subgroup, I agree, but you can't break the whole system trying to solve one problem. Solve that problem. If you want to shut down Facebook and Instagram for people under 18, okay, let that be a decision the market decides. But let's remember, 66% of jobs in America come from small business. Don't hurt small business. The last thing you need is another politician telling you how to run your business. That happens to be a personal opinion, but I don't want that, that's for sure. And I don't think any of the businesses I invest in want it either. So I don't mind the bashing. It's a circus that's gone on for years and years and years. Generally, nothing happens afterward. Every time you can say this is the one that's going to get Facebook. Right. Let's solve the problem they're trying to solve, not break American business.